Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live via SHR Media and streaming live on Facebook. Tonight is an abbreviated edition of Money Talk with Melanie, just 1 hour this evening with the return of the one and only Mike Fitzpatrick, cybersecurity expert and founder and CEO of NCX Group. Very excited to have him on this evening, and welcome everybody to the Facebook chat. Very excited to be back here today. Welcome John Campbell, sponsor, one of Money Talk with Melanie's sponsors from Biz Social Personal Touch. And there's so many people in the Facebook chat. The feed is running too fast. And welcome back, Mike Fitzpatrick. It's been so long since you've been back on the show. And I'm very excited to just be back on the air with you guys. I've been so very busy. And the reason the show is abbreviated, actually, is because for the second time, Money Talk with Melanie has been invited back to the National Publicity Summit in Manhattan, New York, tomorrow. So I will be exiting early this evening to make it to, hey, Joanne Harper, my sister from the National Federation of Republican Women. Welcome. Hi, Robert Houston. Money Talk with Melanie has been invited back to be a featured show at the National Publicity Summit in Manhattan, New York City tomorrow. So I will be attending the National Publicity Summit and featured as a panelist, as an expert. Apparently they think I'm an expert for a successful podcaster. So people will be asking me questions. Me and other panelists. So I'll be headed to NYC this evening to get myself well rested and ready for that tomorrow. And truth be told, I have a test to finish putting together for my foundations class. They probably think that I forgot about it, but I did not. I'm like 75% done. So I have a test to post for my college class tonight. So as per usual, I'm a busy girl. Robert Houston, I know I owe you a phone call. I'm gonna try to call you tonight as well, maybe from New York. We'll see how my evening goes. By the way, I want to, if you notice, I have a new mug. Check out the new mug. I want to thank my sponsor, for John Campbell. You can see this from Biz Social Personal Touch. How cool is this mug for my lovely gift? It says Business Diva, Melanie Collette on one side, and Biz Social, wait, I want to make sure you can see if I get the right angle here. Biz Social Personal Touch on the other side. So you guys know I love my mugs. So this was a gift from John Campbell, and I appreciate it very much. Nice, big, healthy mug. I actually just have iced tea in it because it's kind of warm today. It is nice to see you again, Robert Houston. I know I've been MIA. I have to tell you guys, I try not to tell. I know you guys probably think I have my whole life on Facebook, but I really don't. Try to keep my business private. And I am normally super busy, but I've been more busy because I have I don't want to make it sound super serious because it's not. I have a chronic condition that I'm being treated for, and my doctor thought it would be a good idea. He found this new therapy that he thought would make this condition better. It is not super serious. It's not death dealing or anything like that, but the therapy requires that I go to his office 5 days a week. So in addition to my regular busy schedule that's already really busy, I go to my doctor's office 5 days a week now. It's only for like 5 to 6 weeks, and I'm in like week 3. So I've been really, really busy. So if it seems like I've been MIA and like not on Facebook as much as usual and just kind of not quite on top of my game, that's why. That's why, because I have to go to my doctor's office 5 days a week. But I promise you guys, it's nothing serious. It's just something that my doctor thought would improve my health. But something that I've been dealing with for years, and he's right. And I feel feel good. I am very blessed, and God willing, I will live to be 150 and be running my mouth for a good long time. But I wanted to let you guys know that, and that I have, looks like the weight loss program is working. Hey, what are you trying to say? I was fat? No, I'm just kidding. Isn't that a typical woman response, Robert? Instead of just saying thank you? I was just kidding. Listen, I'm a woman. I'm perpetually trying to lose weight. Like that's, it's a constant. I'm always. But I just wanted to let you guys know that. So for those of you who have been filling my inbox and saying hi and stuff, and you feel like you're being ignored, I swear to you, I'm not ignoring you. I have just been busier than usual because I have to go to my doctor's office every day. Right now, I literally have like 35 text messages. I haven't been doing my Money Talk Minute because I've been going to my doctor's office 5 days a week, in addition to doing my regular stuff with the Federation of Republican Women and teaching a college class and doing the show and trying to, keep my sponsors happy and take care of my health. So it's just been, really busy. I wasn't going to tell my doctor. No, my doctor's like, I really think you should do this. I really think you're going to be, it's just going to improve your health drastically. And, since my insurance covered it, I decided to go ahead and do it, even though it was going to take a significant amount of time. Robert Houston says, by the way, it was either the Melanie show or the 5. I chose Melanie. Aw, that's very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know that was a tough choice. Heck, I would have chose the 5. No, I'm kidding. Wait a minute. Before we go to a commercial break and a brand new Ron Edwards notebook, how about the president? I struggle with the president being super petty, but I think part of the reason is because he does the things that I would want to do. Because today he was like, since sanctuary cities seem to love illegal immigrants so much, maybe I'm going to send them to your city. Why were they so mad? I don't understand. I tend to agree. Like, you all love illegal so much, have some. But apparently it's not going to happen because it's highly illegal. But I just had to get that out. I just had to get that out. We have a slew of wonderful guests coming up in the next few weeks. And I'm also going to get back to sending out my newsletter soon. And all the wonderful things that I do on a regular basis, like the Money Talk Minute, as soon as I get my health tightened up and my doctor thinks that I'm in tip-top shape, which I am. Like I said, I'm feeling good. Everything is fine. This was really just a matter of improving on what was going on. And he was like, there's this new therapy. I think you should do it, but you have to come to my office 5 days a week. And I know you're really busy, but I think you should do it anyway. And since I'm the one with the medical training, how about you do that? So I said yes. And I was like, but doc, I'm really busy. And he was like, yeah, but it's your health. I couldn't really argue with that. So here we are. All right. Enough of that. Brand new Money Talk. No. Brand new Ron Edwards notebook coming your way. And then when we come back, Mike Fitzpatrick from NCX Security is coming. NCX Group Security is coming your way, and I'm sure he's going to come up with all kinds of stuff to scare us half to death and make us throw away all of our technology. So that's going to be fun. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be right back.
Once again, government school bullies seek to trample on parental rights. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, because of the abysmal quality of government school education, many parents across America have opted to homeschool their children. Homeschooled students traditionally benefit from a superior education and are not indoctrinated against America, God, or free market economics. So, parents in West Virginia are hoping that West Virginia Education Chair Representative Kenneth Matt, a Republican, and his Democrat cohorts, Senators Michael Romano and Ron Stallings, who proposed a law that would prohibit homeschooling and order CPS investigations of parents who had children who accrued 10 absences fails. In fact, the bill would treat homeschooling as abuse in order to increase government control over the decision-making process concerning where West Virginia students go to school, leaving parents out in the cold. This is yet another statist government official attempt to see how much more will sovereign citizens allow them to push forward with their evil agenda to indoctrinate all students. Thus, it is past time for parents en masse to stand up for their unalienable right to seek the best way to train up their children in the way they should go. I'm Ron Edwards. Join me live Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on AmericaMatters.us. Right now, you can get the credit you deserve. Just visit MrCreditRepair.biz. Let their expert credit repair specialist remove late payments, charge-offs, collections, even old bankruptcies fast and easy. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Why go anyplace else? Increase your credit score today. At Mr. Credit, you always get a quality service, all at our everyday discounted price. Stop getting turned down for cars, credit cards, or even new homes. Visit MrCreditRepair.biz today. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Your credit repair is our number one priority.
Making a living can be tough these days with so many jobs going overseas. If you love numbers and puzzles and want job security, you can become a tax specialist with an amazing 6-month tax course from Tax Mama. Operate your own tax practice locally or anywhere in the world where there are American taxpayers. It's a great way to write off your trips to visit family for months at a time. Everything you need to pass the IRS 3 special enrollment examinations is included in this course. Visit irsexams.school. And if you need more than 6 months, that's okay. Take your time. You're in the course until you pass the exams or until you unsubscribe and reject Tax Mama's emails.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and our guest today is a regular here on Money Talk with Melanie, and I'm so glad to have him back. He's also a personal friend, which I am so glad to call him that. His name is Mike Fitzpatrick, and he's an expert in all things cybersecurity and technology. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Fitzpatrick. How are you, darling?
Hey, I am having a great day now. I finally get to talk to you, spend a little time with you. It seems like it's been forever. I feel like I've been in Facebook jail.
I know, right? It has been forever. And I tell my students about you all the time because, of course, I teach computers and I teach financial literacy and I teach, foundations of computer science at a university. And I talk about you all the time. And my university students are obsessed with AI. So they they're obsessed with AI. So they love talking about artificial intelligence and all of these things. So I talk.
The funny thing I was just going to say, I was just at the annual Ponemon Institute conference in Tucson, Arizona, a little over a week ago. And one of the observations that we made related to artificial intelligence is the fact that a year ago, nobody had AI baked into their technology. Now everybody has AI baked into the technology. So is it real or is it just marketing fluff?
Now you're scaring me again. Okay, so let's back up just a little bit because we just kind of nerded out and just like jumped right in to AI. Can you just explain to the audience a little bit, those who may not be familiar with the technology, what AI is and what some of the applications are in our everyday life, like how it's used?
Okay, so artificial intelligence, I think the easiest way to think of artificial intelligence and what could be the worst of all things with artificial intelligence is Skynet from Terminator, right? So you think of, and so you really have 3 different forms of artificial intelligence, and you have AI, which is kind of where we are right now, but not really. It's more intelligent data mining. It's more trend analysis. It's more machine learning and adjusting. It's not intelligence as you and I would think of intelligence. Then you have the next form that we may see in the next 5 or 10 years is ASI, and that is on par with human IQ. So this starts to be interesting at that point. And then AGI, which is about 200 times human IQ, is the third step. And that's maybe 15 years out. But it's all moving exponentially. It's all adjusting in real time. There are AI, quote unquote, AI computers at MIT that are talking to each other in their own language that we don't understand right now. So it's a bit of a Pandora's box on one hand. Huh?
I said, you think?
A little bit. I mean, when you got guys like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Larry Ellison and folks like that are saying, no, don't touch that door. And then you've got China, for instance, that is teaching artificial intelligence programming to high schoolers currently that is fully ready to embrace artificial intelligence and wants to rule the world from an AI standpoint. You kind of have to meet them where they are, too.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember movies like War Games, which back then, that was just, fantasy land of what could possibly happen. Like, oh, that could never happen.
Well, they use artificial intelligence and machine learning today for war gaming, for trend analysis, for those kinds of things. But it can't. It's not aware. It's not self-aware at this point.
Right. Supposedly. Like, I'm not sure if I believe. Like, I'm not totally sure I believe it. Richard in the Facebook chat says, "Is there a way to hide my bank account and credit score from the most fearsome from the most fearsome hacker in the world, my wife?"
I'm sorry to say that's not possible. I have failed at it miserably.
That's funny. Yeah, good luck with that, pal. The most fearsome.
There's only so much that you can do.
Yeah,
kind of like football. You can only hope to contain them.
They haven't invented that technology yet, pal. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. But I mean, that is. But what about?
So where things get a little more interesting with artificial intelligence is something that I saw at the Ponemon conference a little over a week ago. And it was the first public presentation ever provided on this new technology that's from a company called Crown Sterling out here in Southern California. It's really, with all encryption is for the most part is mathematics based.
Right.
This is interesting from the standpoint that if what this particular individual has discovered from a mathematics standpoint is true, and it proves out, and it gets through peer review, he may have changed mathematics forever for us. I mean, no joke. This changes physics. It changes time and space relationships. It is no joke that math may have changed forever with this guy's discovery.
Now, there was a time when I would have said to you, it's funny that this is coming up now, and I hope we're not over-nerding this conversation. But there was a time when if you said that to me, I would have thought that impossible. But because of what I happen to be teaching now, this discrete mathematics as a foundation of computer science, and it's foundations, right? And it's all about how, and you probably already know this for the sake of the audience, part of it is all about how these people discovered ways of changing words into math, changing our regular language into mathematical computations. And that's how we got from English, so to speak, and I'm really oversimplifying it, but this is how I kind of present it to the class, how we got from English to mathematical computations. And you have to be able to kind of translate it in order to get to mathematical computations. You have to take steps. So I would have said to you that that's crazy, but there had to be guys, not guys, there were women who did it too. There had to be people who did this with math, who discovered that there were ways to do that. I would have not understood what you were saying and told you that you were crazy had I not started teaching this class. And now I'm like, this is, it's amazing. And the video that you showed me was incredible.
Well, and so this is really, it's intriguing from the standpoint, and, you know, at this conference that I attended, it's invite only, it's 75 of the leading people in the world related to privacy and data security. And literally, Melanie, sitting at my table were three guys, all with PhDs in mathematics and physics, one from Harvard, one from Stanford, and one from MIT. Oh, and there was a fourth from Oxford. Big brain guys. And to say that they're skeptical about what this guy has come up with, his name's Robert Grant. He's the former CEO of Allergan. He was there at the creation of Botox that Allergan put out on the market. He's the former CEO of Bausch & Lomb, and he loves playing with physics and numbers for fun. And this is what he does for fun.
These people.
And about 10 years ago, I guess it is, they came up with this concept in mathematics of, and I'm not a math person, of quasi-prime numbers. And what he's been able to do, in short, is come up and show quasi-prime numbers are not only a reality, but they're infinite and they are predictable. And it's crazy what this means to the world of encryption. So right now, from an encryption standpoint, we're using 256-bit keys or 512-bit keys or 2048-bit keys. We're now talking about keys that are 1 billion-bit keys, 2 billion-bit keys, 100 billion-bit keys, etc., right? So you now, and he's going to use artificial intelligence in order to write music to create the key from the future as well as the past in the encryption algorithm, making it unbreakable. So it's really interesting. If everything that he says proves out to be true, as I asked one of the big brain guys, I said, let's stipulate that everything he says is true. What does this mean to you?
Right.
He said, it means it changes everything we do in life.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And I feel like I heard about this. I think Shepard did a report on this yesterday.
He's making the rounds. The original paper has been published through Cornell University.
Right.
And he is using it for his doctoral thesis at UCLA this summer.
Of course he is.
and yeah, like I said, he just does this for fun, evidently. But I just posted in the Face Chat the video for it if anybody wants to watch it. But it's really interesting and could absolutely change everything from a security perspective.
So I know I'm switching gears just a little tiny bit, and we're probably going to have to talk more about this. First of all, I love this, and if it was too, and I understand for those of you in the audience that are like, what in God's name are they talking about? I know. I know, and don't feel some type of way about it, because that was like real computery.
Well, let me put it this way: Richard could actually keep his wife from using his credit card with this.
Yes,
just say it.
Yep, you definitely could. You definitely could. That was like super computery. So the class that I'm teaching is, and this happens all the time. Like, I'm asked to teach something, and sometimes it's in my wheelhouse, but I haven't taught that specifically. So what I'm teaching now, I've never taught before, but it's in my wheelhouse. It's fine. But I'm teaching like the circuit vending machine aspects of computer science, and it is so freaking interesting and fun. Like, it's so fun. Like, well, it's fun to me. I don't know if the kids are having fun, but I am. So
all I know is I mentioned the quasi-prime stuff to my son, who's at college now, and he's going. And the first thought out of his head, well, Dad, if that's true, it changes. And I didn't even have to finish explaining it. He got it.
Right.
And so,
yeah, that is like way, like I have a ton of things running through my head right now. I can't wait to tell my class about it next week. And
show them the video.
And like 4 of my super nerds are gonna start talking way over my head, and I'm gonna be like, yeah. Because there's 4 kids in my class that totally have a higher IQ than I do and know much more about this stuff than I do. They probably know more about it than you do. I'm like, okay, you guys are way out of, yeah. They're going to be like the next, Steve Jobs or something. And there's always a kid like that in those classes. There's always at least one like super amazing kid in my class that just needs to get the paper and get out.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? There's always one. I'm like, I'm just going to leave you to just do the problem and get your A and get out, please. Because honestly, I don't know why you're here. Just get the paper and get out. But here lately, I wanted to ask you about this because President Trump has been talking a lot. There's been a lot in the paper and the news about 5G and about how much faster it's going to be. But it also apparently subjects us to a lot of security risks. And so, at least from what I'm hearing, there's concerns about having it over here, even though it's supposed to be, I don't want to say better, because I know better is, can be in the eye of the beholder if it presents certain security risks. And also, from what I understand, it presents infrastructure challenges as well. It's not like when we had 3G and 4G where all you had to do was tweak a couple things. Apparently, there's quite a few infrastructure. You need more infrastructure is my understanding of how 5G works. Like, we can't it's not a matter of just putting up a couple more cables or something like that. Like, we need to do more to get 5G, but there's also some security concerns. Well,
okay, so security, I'd have to do some research into it. 5G is going to be a phased rollout, so you're going to have something that's kind of a quasi, using the term quasi, quasi 5G that's coming out now through Verizon, through AT&T, through T-Mobile, and Sprint here in the States. Right now, there's no phones that actually support 5G.
Okay.
So you've got this improved bandwidth and things like that, and from a marketing standpoint, there's going to be improvements. The concern from a security standpoint with 5G is allowing Chinese companies to have the contract here in the U.S. and their ability to spy on voice and data calls from a security perspective and capture those calls and capture that data because they're running through their machines. It's no secret that the Chinese, through computer manufacturing and laptop manufacturing that they do now and ship back to the U.S., that there's chips within those computers that actually allow them to monitor and spy or surveil, if you want to go with the Democrats' choice of words, on companies, on deployments of computers and things like that. The chips have been found. I mean, there's no secret here.
Right.
So I think that Trump is, wanting to stay with an American company, Qualcomm, related to that, to make sure that it's an American company that's installing these systems into our environment. The thing that I would be concerned about with 5G is going to be the radiation that comes out of those antennas. That's going to be the concern that I would have.
Really? And do you mean antennas like towers that are being built for those? Or
yeah. I mean, there's massive amounts of radiation that comes out of those towers now. They really haven't conducted a test here in the United States for probably 10 years now on the effects of those antennas. They have in other parts of the world, and the results are not good.
So, that brings about a question. So they have not done any studies as far as like cancer hubs and them being anywhere near cell phone towers? I mean, they do the studies about water and things like that. They don't do similar studies around cell phone towers?
They have in other parts of the world. What they're relying on here in the United States is a study that is 10 years old at this point, older equipment, older technology,
right,
that didn't show cancer clusters, whereas in Europe and Israel and other countries, they're doing the studies with newer equipment, and the results are not good.
Now that's very sad. That's what
It's one of the things that I saw as a planning commissioner when I was a planning commissioner where I live, and so it's. But you try to introduce it into the discussion, and you can't because there's not a U.S. based study that has been done in the last 10 years on this subject.
And of course, there's absolutely no incentive to do it because there's so much money involved.
Bingo.
Me and a friend that you know very well, one lion chaser. We're talking the other night about we're chatting the other night, and the subject of the Palm Pilot came up. And remember the Palm Pilot?
I did a throwback Thursday not more than 2 weeks ago with my picture. I still have a Palm Pilot.
Shut up!
Yeah.
I probably have one somewhere in a drawer somewhere. I loved my Palm Pilot. He had one too. We were talking about the Palm Pilot, and I was saying that I kind of miss having my smartphone separate from my phone. That was kind of the ideal situation. But then,
so here's a question. The term phone seems so adequate for what we carry around right now. Should we rename it? It's really not a phone.
It really isn't. But then isn't an iPad basically a Palm Pilot?
No.
I don't know. That's what I concluded the other day. I said, well, maybe an iPad is basically a Palm Pilot, like a really extravagant Palm Pilot. I don't know.
No.
But I kind of miss. But the Palm Pilots were everything. Like I just feel like they were perfect. I don't know. I miss it though. I miss you had a battery. You had to worry about charging it. You know, when it went dead, you put a new battery in, and everything was fine.
Life was simple.
Life was simple. You had the little stylus. I'm sorry to take everybody. If you're younger, I think younger than maybe like 30, you have no idea what we're talking about. But I'm telling you, the days of the Palm Pilot were pretty good days. I'm just saying, because you don't remember the days where all you had was a day timer.
Oh yeah, you know, I love the days of 300 baud modems and that silly sound it made when it connected.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm from the days of the electric typewriter. I mean, I learned to type on a typewriter. I'm just saying, like, and my hands are not big enough, really, to learn to type from a typewriter. So, Doug paused in the Facey Chest said, AI just went totally backward. It did. It absolutely did. And I actually had something else in my mind, and I wanted to ask you about that was super high tech, and I don't know how I got back to the electric typewriter, but I totally did.
I don't know, but I just found my Palm Trio.
Did you?
The first phone that they had. I got it here in my hand.
Listen, that thing was fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. That Palm Pilot was fantastic. The Palm Trio, it was everything. You kept it separate. I kept it in my work bag, and it was handy dandy. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know. I mean, I love my iPhone. Don't get me wrong. I would die without it. But
that gets you to Alexa quicker.
That's what I wanted. Thank you for bringing that up. That's what I wanted to ask you about. Because I heard yesterday that apparently, and I know that you're going to be shocked to hear this, that apparently Alexa, Amazon employees are listening to our conversations. And
no.
Well, Mike, they're only doing that for technical reasons, so that they can understand our conversations better for programming purposes.
You know, the funny thing is, and I say this in presentations, right? And that is, the East German Stasi would be totally amazed at the level of surveillance that we accept willingly and we pay for the privilege of having.
Yeah.
We do it. I mean, how many people in the audience have a TV, a flat panel TV that they've purchased in the last 5 years that has a camera in it that's connected to the internet? So there's somebody somewhere on a server somewhere listening to what's going on in your home and watching you walk through the house, get coffee. So these things matter.
Watching me walk through the house and get coffee?
Get coffee, yeah.
What do you mean watching me walk through the house and get coffee?
Because if there's a camera in the TV, they can see you.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? If
Michael,
the TV has a camera in it,
Michael,
and it's connected to the internet now, you have people that have access to it.
Michael?
Yeah?
I'm not always dressed to go to a board meeting when I get coffee. Do you know
Most people aren't.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Most people are not.
I'm not. I don't usually have on a 3-piece suit and heels when I'm going to the kitchen to get coffee. If you know what I mean. And I think you do.
The thing here is, it was really funny. Several years ago, Microsoft came out with a new Xbox One, and it was going to have a camera with it, and it would facially recognize whoever came into the room and say hi to you. And there's a bunch of, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys that I was working with at that time, and Boy Scouts, because my son was in the troop, and we were talking about this on the way up to Zion National Park for a week of camping, and the opinion that these 12 and 13, 14-year-old boys had on being surveilled by Microsoft with their Xbox One made it absolutely an unviable system for them. They were not buying that system. They were going to go to a PlayStation 4. It was so bad for Microsoft that they quit making the camera as part of the package.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see what boys do in their rooms by themselves at 12 and 13. Believe me.
Yeah, no one wants to see anything. The point is, we're allowing surveillance in our homes, whether it's through Alexa, whether it's through Google Home, whether it's through a Samsung television, or more importantly, an Android device, because it is always listening, and they use that to teach their AI engine about people. See how I tied that together? So those things matter. I mean, it comes back to the thing you and I have talked about time and time again, and that is security, privacy, or convenience.
Convenience.
Which matters more? And we are selling our soul for convenience.
Oh boy, that's really bad. I don't think my TV. I think my TV is older than 5 years. I think. If it
Check
isn't,
is it Samsung? Because Samsung, for a number of years, every TV that they put out had a small, tiny camera in it.
No, but if it isn't, somebody's been getting one hell of a show every morning. That's all I'm saying.
There's some guys back in Korea
who have been having a great time every morning. That's all I'm saying. Wow. I mean, really, that's ridiculous.
This is such an issue that there's actually a hack that is used within corporate boardrooms on those TVs to gain access to the microphone and camera in boardrooms to spy for corporate espionage.
So, okay, so how are they viewing? Like, is it like, you ever heard of the website Chat Roulette? You ever heard of that website?
No.
Yeah, be glad. So, because I'm trying to imagine, like, how would they look at this stuff? Like, do they just log into someplace and look at the cameras? Like, how would they access that data?
Okay, so, all right, so let's look at it this way. Everything that's on a network has what, Melanie?
A server.
An IP address, right?
Right, and an IP address, of course, right.
Okay, so everything's got an IP address.
Right.
Just like your mailbox in the front of your house, you have an address.
Right.
Right? So Google, when you do a search on Google, there are website addresses on Google.
Right.
There is another site out there called Shodan that actually is a search engine for everything else. Webcams, any other type of IP address that isn't a website. So whether that's IoT sensors, whatever it is, you can do a search on Shodan and find this stuff.
Are you kidding me?
No. So, I mean, you find the IP addresses. If you're a bad guy and you're scanning an IP range within a company, that television set's going to have an IP address within that company. You use Nmap and a couple of other tools to locate, what is what and sort through this stuff. And then you just run the hack against that particular Sony television, and now you're in. And it doesn't turn on the little red light to tell anybody that you're recording, and you just listen. Watch and listen, maybe record.
That's wonderful. Really.
Special, isn't it?
That's really wonderful news. But now, the only thing is, somebody would have to, they would have to work really hard to do that, right? Like, somebody would have to be going after you. Wouldn't they?
It all comes down to what the adversary is looking for.
Right.
And I think one of the things that businesses need to start thinking about is wargaming. they have to understand who their adversary is, who is that attacker that might want information out of their business. Because the reality today is, somebody someplace wants what you have, and it's only a matter of time before they come get it.
And from a personal perspective, you would just be surprised who views you as a threat. That's I know personally, just in the circles in which I travel, I find myself often surprised when something happens, and then somebody who's a friend of mine will say, well, that person views you as a threat because of X, Y, Z. And I'll say, like, well, why is that person acting like that? Or why did that person do X, Y, Z? And, a friend will say, well, that person views you as a threat. And I'll say, well, why? And then, a friend will list all the reasons why. And then I'll say, oh, okay, well, I suppose that makes sense. But why are they handling it this way? You know what I mean? That's a strange way to handle it. But if you're, in certain circles, this is the way things are handled when you view someone as a threat and you're crazy. So,
the interesting thing is, I guess maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I was at DEF CON in Las Vegas, and this is before they moved to a bigger venue. This is when it was, the real DEF CON hacker conference, and it was underground, it was cash only, no names, you couldn't register for the conference, all of those things. And one of the presentations that I went to was given by the gentleman that headed up Cyber Command for NATO. And it was on vulnerabilities and risks. And I'm going, okay, well, this is kind of the stuff we do. So let me go see what they're viewing as risks, right? What the threat. The most interesting thing that came out of that was the fact that NATO and governments, their number one threat in the world to them is our anonymity, not knowing who we are.
That makes sense.
So the biggest plus for them out of 5G is going to be no more anonymity.
But that's the biggest threat to our freedom.
Yes.
Right. But it's also, but in a way, Mike, and this is the conundrum for us as a constitutional republic, it's also the biggest threat to our safety in a way. If we don't do things like maintain our borders, which is a different conversation probably for a different show, but
Well, it's interesting. I live 45 miles from the California-Mexico border. Deal with it every day.
Right.
Our local hospital loses $4.5 million a month.
Wow.
In illegal immigrant indigent care. Schools are overcrowded. It's just, there's an impact.
Right.
And, the funny thing is those of us in California and that live close to the border have been harping on this for the better part of 30 years now. And it's only getting important because now it's migrated up to states like New Jersey and New York, Michigan. It's now across the country. It's not just here anymore. But anything with cybersecurity, you have to defend. You have to understand who your adversary is. What do they look like? What are they after? You have to war game your protection scenarios within the business and how you respond to a threat. That's something that we're going to be adding this year is actual wargaming for customers.
Oh, wow.
For our business clients and going through and really wargaming what they respond like, who is the attack, where is it from, is it another company, is it out of China, is it out of Ukraine, where is it from, how can we gain visibility, what are the steps that we need. Those are all things that you have to think about in the battle that is cybersecurity. Going back to war games, like what you were talking about with the movie, do you want to play a game? There's so many business people that think that it's kids in a basement eating pizza and having fun.
Right.
And it's not. It's organized crime. It's state-sponsored actors.
Exactly.
It's nation states.
Exactly.
I mean, so don't even get me started on the whole threat that the power grid is.
Well, yeah, we've talked about that before. And it's still not taken care of.
No, I mean, it's still vulnerable to EMP and other types of attacks.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, we're up to the close of the show. If anyone has a business and they'd like to avail themselves of your services, how can they do that?
Best way is go to the website, www.ncxgroup.com, ncxgroup.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at NCX Group on both of those platforms. We've got a couple of new things that we're going to be announcing here in the next week. We finally have, I think, developed a small business offering that is cost-effective, that actually provides some value. And so I'm excited about that because we are we are very rapidly approaching a point in time, Melanie, where small business is not going to be able to afford to secure what they do online because of the skills gap, the talent gap, and the cost of personnel and technology to deal with this stuff.
Sure.
So there has to be a solution in that space. Every
time I look at that offering on my website, I'm always like, ugh. The risk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time, the risk. It's a risk. I can do it through a third party or something like that, but still, it's a risk to do it through my website. So it's always a dicey proposition. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're gonna put you on for May ASAP. I'll talk to you soon about getting you on a May date.
Awesome. It's good to be back in circulation again.
Indeed. Nice talking to you, darling. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
Yep. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. That was the one and only Mike Fitzpatrick, cybersecurity expert and founder of NCX Group Security. Did a fabulous job as usual. I want to thank you all for listening. Thank everyone in the Facey chat. And of course, thank my sponsors, Biz Social Personal Touch, the Tax Mama. She is closing in on April 15th, which I'm sure she is very happy about, aka Eva Rosenberg. And of course, Robert Houston, MrCreditRepair.biz. Thank you all very much for supporting the show. And I want you all to remember that this is all very important because after all, it's your money. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
So those are going to continue to be areas kind of lifting that direction, even including Memphis, Tennessee, as it heads that way from now.
Okay, I don't even know if the lighting is good, and I didn't get an opportunity to finish the. Oh, here we go. I didn't get an opportunity to finish the title, which was National Publicity Summit. I wanted to let you guys know what the National Publicity Summit is, since I posted a picture and just me standing in front of my sign. The National Publicity Summit is a summit where people in the media are featured from across the country, and it's a panel of experts, which begs the question, why Money Talk with Melanie and myself were included. Hey, Carol Pearson, Keith Little, Zena. Just kidding. But there's like 12 to 20, something like that, panel of experts, and we're interviewed. We're asked like one question, and the question this year was, if we had I'm trying to get like the best light here. If we had, here we go, sunlight. If we had a brother or sister who was going to go into podcasting or into the media, what kind of advice would we give them? And this is specifically for people who want to be guests on our shows, or who want to be quoted in articles. If you're a writer, there were people there for many different kind of genres of media, if you will, if you can put it that way. So they asked us all like what our opinions were, and that was the one question that we got to answer this time. So because my answer this year kind of got some applause / laughter, I figured I'd share what my answer was with everyone else, with you guys. So if you are a guest on, and a lot of you guys are involved in the media or get interviewed, and this is kind of not all that big of a deal, but if you are a guest on a podcast or a radio show, or you get quoted in an article and you share it, at least for my show, I'll put it like this. If you're a guest on my show, I always share your, I will always tweet it at you, I will always tag you. And in the future, if I see that you're doing something, hey, Lisa Martin, in the future, if I see that you're doing something, if I happen to be scrolling through Twitter, or I happen to be scrolling through Facebook, and I see that you're promoting something, if you're a friend of the show, I usually will share it. If you're a friend of mine, I usually will share it. And I said one thing that I find to be annoying, and remember, this is a publicity summit. So remember, when I say this, not trying to throw shade, but we're talking about how do you increase publicity. So I said one thing that I find kind of annoying is that the favor doesn't get returned. By and large, people who share my show are people who are not involved in the media, which is kind of funny because they're people who don't have anything to gain by sharing my stuff, but the people who are involved in the media, who know very good and well how important it is to share your stuff, typically don't, and I share their stuff all the time. So it's not, and I'm not the type of person who says like, well, you don't share my stuff, so I'm not sharing your stuff. I'm not that girl. So like, I'll just keep sharing it. If you're a friend of the show, like you've been a guest on my show, or you're a friend of mine and you're in the media, if I see your stuff, I share it. But everybody in the audience kind of cracked up because I think they could all relate to that feeling. Like having been on somebody else's show or sharing somebody's stuff all the time, and they don't reciprocate. Like, we're all in this together. Build each other up. So that was what I said. A lot of people kind of laughed. But I think it's because they understood exactly what I was saying. And I do it all the time, like I said. If I see somebody that was a guest on my show, and they're promoting something, I share it. I retweet it. Just to be nice. It's a nice thing to do. Like somebody doesn't, you don't have to come in my inbox and ask me. Like if I see you're in an article or you wrote an article, you don't have to inbox me and ask me to share it. If I see it, I'm going to share it. There's enough for everybody. And even afterward, because there's like just kind of like a speed dating for media thing that happens afterward. A few people came up to me and said, "I really liked what you said in your answer. Your answer was great. That was a great answer to that question that nobody ever really addresses." So anyway, I don't believe in being really spiteful, so I don't like going to stuff and saying, well, you know, when I see their post going, they'll never share my stuff, so I'm not going to share it. No, you should share stuff out of the kindness of your heart, and if you share stuff, you should keep doing it. It's all about motivation and intent. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be like that. But I did say that I find it's just something that I notice that I find irritating. And if you guys are going to be guests on people's shows, it's a really good look and a really friendly thing to do if you want to be guests on other people's shows. You know, they'll talk about it. One thing that I like about this particular guest is that they always promote my stuff too. I'm just saying, it's a good look. Right, Keith Little? Keith Little's good about doing that stuff. He's a sharer. And I try to share his stuff too. He's very good about that stuff. They're probably intimidated that I'll steal their followers. Really though? And that might be part of it. Like I think that's why a lot of people don't share other people's stuff. Like I'm not afraid of that, but that's because I'm one of those people that's like, you know, we're a lot of the people that I deal with are Christians, and I just believe that there's enough for everybody. And if we're blessed and worshiping the same God, what is there to worry about? That's just my theory. So I don't worry about, you know, who's going to take whose followers. We're all like different people with different gifts. So there's no such thing as stealing followers. Not in my mind anyway. That's not the way I look at it. I mean, a lot of them are podcast. Like a lot of the content is downloadable and you read it at your own leisure. So that doesn't even make sense to me. We're all on the same squad. Exactly, author. Like, we're all supposed to be on the same team. So why not give people, like, the opportunity to have as much content as possible? That's my theory. So, you know, I retweet away. If there's people that I wholeheartedly trust that they're not, you know, posting foolishness, as I'm going through my Twitter feed, if you're a fan of the show or you're somebody that is a close friend that I legitimately like, I'm sharing away. I'm just going through it. That's so-and-so, retweet. That's so-and-so, share. But I do notice that I don't quite get the same love. The people who show me that kind of love, by and large, don't have shows at all. Like they're not even involved in the media, but consistently share my stuff. That's kind of a problem. And that's not a complaint. Like I said, the question came up, and they wanted me to share, you know, what I thought is a good practice to do. Like, and the question, the moderator specifically asked for something unique that they hadn't heard before. So I brought that up, and many people said that they hadn't heard that before. It is something people don't really talk about. So I figured I'd bring that up. That's the National Publicity Summit. And I got another whole new batch of guests coming you guys' way, which is very exciting. And I'm in a city that never sleeps. So hopefully I'm going to try to have a good time this evening and also stay out of trouble. But I thought I'd share that with you guys, what the National Publicity Summit was about and what I was doing here and what I shared with the potential guests and with the rest of the panelists. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic weekend, and I will see you soon. So someone got to put them on blast, Lisa. So share my stuff, y'all. I mean, especially those of you who are in the media. You know better. Share my stuff. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Okay, I don't even know if the lighting is good. I didn't get an opportunity to finish the title, which was National Publicity Summit. I wanted to let you guys know what the National Publicity Summit is, since I posted a picture and just me standing in front of my sign. The National Publicity Summit is a summit where people in the media are featured from across the country, and it's a panel of experts, which begs the question, why let me talk with Melanie, and myself were included. Hey, Carol Pearson, Keith Little, Zena. Just kidding. But there's like 12 to 20, something like that, panel of experts, and we're interviewed. We're asked like one question, and the question this year was, if we had I'm trying to get like the best light here. If we had, here we go, sunlight. If we had a brother or sister who was going to go into podcasting or into the media, what kind of advice would we give them? And this is specifically for people who want to be guests on our shows, or who want to be quoted in articles if you're a writer. There were people there for many different kind of genres of media, if you will. You can put it that way. So they asked us all, all like what our opinions were, and that was the one question that we got to answer this time. So because my answer this year kind of got everyone else, with you guys. So if you are a guest on, and a lot of you guys are involved in the media or get interviewed, and this is kind of not all that big of a deal, but if you are a guest on a podcast or a radio show, or you get quoted in an article and you share it, at least for my show, I'll put it like this. If you're a guest on my show, I always share your, I will always. Okay, I don't even know if the lighting is good, and I didn't get an opportunity to finish the title, which was National Publicity Summit. I wanted to let you guys know what the National Publicity Summit is, since I posted a picture and just me standing in front of my sign. The National Publicity Summit is a summit where people in the media are featured from across the country, and it's a panel of experts, which begs the question why MoneyTalk with Melanie and myself were included. Hey, Carol Pearson, Keith Little, Zena. Just kidding. But there's like 12 to 20, something like that, panel of experts, and we're interviewed. We're asked like one question. And the question this year was, if we had I'm trying to get like the best light here. If we had, here we go, sunlight. If we had a brother or sister who was going to go into podcasting or into the media, what kind of advice would we give them? And this is specifically for people who want to be guests on our shows, or who want to be quoted in articles. Writer. There were people there for many different kind of genres of media, if you will, if you can put it that way. So they asked us all like what our opinions were, and that was the one question that we have to answer this time. So because my answer this year kind of got some applause / laughter, I figured I'd share what my answer was with everyone else. You guys. So if you are a guest on, and a lot of you guys are involved in the media or get interviewed, and this is kind of not all that big of a deal, but if you are a guest on a podcast or a radio show, or you get quoted in an article and you share it, at least for my show, I'll put it like this. If you're a guest on my show, I always share your, like I will always tweet it at you, I will always tag you. And in the future, if I see that you're doing something, hey Lisa Martin, in the future, if I see that you're doing something, if I happen to be scrolling through Twitter or I happen to be scrolling through Facebook and I see that you're promoting something, if you're a friend of the show, I usually will share it. If you're a friend of mine, I usually will share it. And I said one thing that I find to be annoying, and remember this is a publicity summit. So remember when I say this, I'm not trying to throw shade, but we're talking about how do you increase publicity. So I said one thing that I find kind of annoying is that the favor doesn't get returned. By and large, people who share my show are people who are not involved in the media, which is kind of funny because there are people who don't have anything to gain by sharing my stuff, but the people who are involved in the media who know very good and well how important it is to share your stuff typically don't, and I share their stuff all the time. So it's not, and I'm not the type of person who says like, well, you don't share my stuff, so I'm not sharing your stuff. I'm not that girl. So, like, I'll just keep sharing it. If you're a friend of the show, like you've been a guest on my show, or you're a friend of mine and you're in the media, if I see your stuff, I share it. But everybody in the audience kind of cracked up because I think they could all relate to that feeling. Like having been on somebody else's show or sharing somebody's stuff all the time and they don't reciprocate. Like, we're all in this together. Build each other up. So that was what I said. A lot of people kind of laughed. But I think it's because they understood exactly what I was saying. And I do it all the time, like I said. If I see somebody that was a guest on my show, and they're promoting something, I share it. I retweet it. Just to be nice. It's a nice thing to do. Like somebody you don't have to come in my inbox and ask me. Like if I see you're in an article or you wrote an article, you don't have to inbox me and ask me to share it. If I see it, I'm going to share it. There's enough for everybody. And even afterward, because there's like there's kind of like a speed dating for media thing that happens afterward. A few people came up to me and said, "I really liked what you said in your answer. Your answer was great. That was a great answer to that question that nobody ever really addresses." So anyway, I don't believe in being really spiteful, so I don't like going to stuff and saying, well, when I see their post going, they'll never share my stuff, so I'm not going to share it. No, you should share stuff out of the kindness of your heart, and if you share stuff, you should keep doing it. It's all about motivation and intent. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be like that. But I did say that I find it's just something that I notice that I find irritating. And if you guys are going to be guests on people's shows, it's a really good look and a really friendly thing to do if you want to be guests on other people's shows. They'll talk about it. One thing that I like about this particular guest is that they always promote my stuff too. I'm just saying, it's a good look. Right, Keith Little? Keith Little's good about doing that stuff. He's a sharer. And I try to share his stuff too. He's very good about that stuff. They're probably intimidated that I'll steal their followers. Really though? And that might be part of it. Like, I think that's why a lot of people don't share other people's stuff. Like, I'm not afraid of that, but that's because I'm one of those people that's like, we're a lot of the people that I deal with are Christians, and I just believe that there's enough for everybody. And if we're blessed and worshiping the same God, what is there to worry about? That's just my theory. So I don't worry about, who's going to take whose followers. We're all like different people with different gifts. So there's no such thing as stealing followers. Not in my mind, anyway. That's not the way I look at it. I mean, a lot of them are podcast. Like, a lot of the content is downloadable, and you read it at your own leisure. So that doesn't even make sense to me. We're all on the same squad. Exactly, author. Like, we're all supposed to be on the same team. So why not give people, like, the opportunity to have as much content as possible? That's my theory. So, I retweet away. if there's people that I wholeheartedly trust that they're not, posting foolishness, as I'm going through my Twitter feed, if you're a fan of the show or you're somebody that is a close friend that I legitimately like, I'm sharing away. I'm just going through it. That's so and so. Retweet. That's so and so. Share. But I do notice that I don't quite get the same love. The people who show me that kind of love, by and large, don't have shows at all. Like they're not even involved in the media, but consistently share my stuff. That's kind of a problem. And that's not a complaint. Like I said, the question came up, and they wanted me to share, what I thought is a good practice to do. Like, and the question, the moderator specifically asked for something unique that they hadn't heard before. So I brought that up, and many people said they hadn't heard that before, and it's something people don't really talk about. So I figured I'd bring that up. That's the National Publicity Summit, and I got another whole new batch of guests coming you guys' way, which is very exciting.
Think of all those people trying to tear that piece to shreds, and they were only able to cast out over two things one guy of three characters had to say, right? And what I learned, the lesson I learned, is they're not going to come after you for the things that matter. They're going to come after you and use the things that don't matter, and they're going to use that to bury the whole thing. Silence you.
Been a great guest. Thanks very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. See you next time on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. Fireworks flying on Capitol Hill this week between conservative commentator Candace Owens and California Congressman Ted Lieu at a hearing on hate speech. The exchange becoming the most viewed C-SPAN Twitter video for a House hearing ever. Nearly 6.8 million views watched the whole thing.
I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
Ms. Owens, I'm sorry. We just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Lieu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Wait, please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully extracted and cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact the question that was asked of me was pertaining to whether or not I believed that whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
Wow. Here with the reaction, Communications Director for Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. First of all, Candace, congratulations on the engagement. We are all very happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Let's see the ring.
Okay. I've never done this before. Now everybody has seen it in the world right here on Waters World.
There it is. There's the debut. All right, well, first of all, nice performance up there on Capitol Hill. I know it could get a little crazy, but everybody tuned in for it, and it was just bananas up there. So nice work getting your point across. I do want to read what you said, and then you can explain, I guess, how this guy, Ted Lieu, is taking it out of context. You did say, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is he had dreams outside of Germany. And so everybody's latching on to that comment. What was the context there?
Oh, it was a 2-hour discussion, and what we were talking about in various parts was about globalism and nationalism. And the woman who had asked me a question basically said, nationalism is now viewed as a very dirty word. How do us patriots sort of reclaim that word. And when I was responding to her is that the reason why it's considered a dirty word is because it's wrongly conflated with Hitler, when Hitler was not, in fact, a nationalist. Now, if I had known that this clip was going to be pulled 3 months later from BuzzFeed on a hunt to try to put something nasty about me, I would have been much clearer in my response. But it was over a 2-hour course of a conversation. I was basically just saying that Hitler was by no means a nationalist. He wasn't focused on just Germany. He was killing the German people. He was a homicidal maniac. So what Ted Lieu did was an incredibly dirty trick, and in my opinion, it undermines not only the American people, but especially Black Americans. That entire hearing was about how there's a looming threat in Black America.
Right, and you made that point about how he thought that Black Americans weren't smart enough to find the full context, and the chairman Nadler didn't even know what you said. I don't even think he was paying attention. One of the problems is that whenever you use Hitler in an analogy or bring him up as a part of an argument for argument's sake, it always is then seized upon by political enemies or people that don't even understand the context, and then it's used against you. So I would never, this is just my advice, I would never bring up Hitler at all, ever, in a political context, in any sort of debate, because it's never going to go well. So I just don't do it. And I think you probably know that by now.
Advice. I obviously learned this lesson the very hard way. It's probably good advice, but the other side of this, though, is that it is bizarre now. It's one thing when they try to do this to white people and try to paint them as white nationalists. I am a Black female, okay? It's very bizarre to try to paint me as someone who would support Hitler, right? So, and I agree with you, and now I'll never, because they're out to get me all the time, I'll be very careful in how I describe things. But it does also showcase to Black Americans how desperate the left has become, how desperate Democrats have become when they're trying to smear and libel a Black American woman as someone that would ever support a homicidal maniac that murdered 6 million Jews. So in that way, it kind of helps get out what I'm trying to teach them, which is that Democrats use racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism as themes to simply go after their political opponents. They do not care about any of us. Yeah,
it's kind of just gross that Ted Lieu would accuse a Black woman of being racist or a white nationalist. It doesn't even make sense. But he's not a really serious person, in my opinion. He's a strange person. But he's always just trying to create controversy. He's a radical partisan, and that was a stunt that he pulled. That was a cheap stunt that he pulled, and he thought it would work, but it didn't work. So way to be on your feet when it comes to that stuff. I think we were probably nice to him. I would have been a lot meaner if he had tried to pull that stunt on me. But Candace, again, it's tough out there, but you're right on the front line, so I think a lot of people on that side appreciate it. And any last words for Ted Lieu?
Yeah, Ted Lieu, I just want to know why I wasn't granted the courtesy of your party, which is #BelieveWomen. Where did that happen? I thought this was the party that wanted to uplift minority voices, and they were so concerned about sexism and women. I'm a Black woman. What happened to the policy of #JustBelieveWomen? Yeah. That's what I would say to Ted. It was an act of cowardice. It's one thing to present the video. To not allow me to respond to it shows you that they are ultimately cowards and they're fearful, because let me tell you something, and I'll say this prediction right now. The Black vote is cracking. We are getting tired of the victim narrative. We are getting tired of not speaking about the real issues facing our community and trying to get us to believe in the boogeyman, the myth of white supremacy on the rise. That's something that's keeping us back.
All right. Candace Owens, there she is, the most watched clip ever on C-SPAN. Candace, thank you. The Democratic Party has a problem. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, known for making anti-Semitic comments, now downplaying the 9/11 terror attacks.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
The New York Post blasting Omar. Here's Thursday's front cover. But some of her radical cohorts are defending her. Listen to this.
This is just pure racist act by many of those, hateful acts by those, because she does speak truth.
We're getting to a level where this is an incitement of violence against progressive women of color.
A Republican Congressman and retired Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw also sounding off against Omar, tweeting this. First member of Congress to ever describe terrorists who killed thousands of Americans on 9/11 as some people who did something, quote unquote. Unbelievable. AOC coming to Omar's defense with this ridiculous response. You refused to co-sponsor the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund, yet had the audacity to drum a resentment towards Elon with completely out-of-context quotes. In 2018, right-wing extremists were behind almost all of U.S. domestic terror killings. Why don't you go do something about that? Congressman Dan Crenshaw joins me now. I mean, I'm almost at a loss for words, Congressman, and we can just take this one at a time. How would you like to respond to AOC saying that you need to do something about it? I mean, you did lose your eye protecting her, fighting overseas for our country.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot to unpack there, right? And it's like I said, it's almost not worth responding to. Okay, but let's unpack this. Okay, so she thinks that co-sponsoring a bill, by the way, that isn't out of committee yet, means that's how you're defending 9/11 victims. Last I checked, I thought I did defend 9/11 victims. I went overseas and tried to make sure that this attack never happened again. Exactly. And make sure to take the fight to the enemy that committed it. It's not just her either. It's also her counterpart in New York, Max Rose. I mean, the fact that they would double down on this and try to provide cover for Ilhan Omar when all you have to do really is say, hey, she misspoke, maybe she didn't mean it that way. Why don't you say that?
Yeah, all she has to say is, I was a little too flip. Perhaps my language was a little too imprecise. I know that 3,000 people died on that horrible day, and those some people were radical al-Qaeda terrorists who we've been trying to bring to justice. But she doesn't do that. She actually doubled down with this tweet. Look at what Omar tweeted about this. This is from, I guess, the other day. The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon. President George W. Bush. Was Bush downplaying the terrorist attacks? What if he was a Muslim? I mean, George W. Bush went to Ground Zero when there was still smoke up there, and we didn't even know it was Al-Qaeda exactly. And he says, they brought these buildings down, and he went into Afghanistan and he did something about it. What is she doing?
I don't know. I think she needs to hire a different comms director. I don't even know what she's getting at with that particular tweet. Again, there's too much material here. It comes at us every single day, Jesse. And I don't
like the fact that they tried to use her gender or her Muslim faith or her race as a shield. Like, she says whatever she wants. It's crazy and completely irresponsible for a sitting member of Congress. And then the minute you criticize her, she says, "Oh, you're attacking me because I'm a Muslim, or I'm a woman, or I'm black."
Right, and this is the worst kind of argumentation. So what they're doing is they're trying to silence any kind of arguments against them. Why? Because they don't actually have an argument to make. So what they do is they'll use identity to try and silence anyone else from saying anything. You're not allowed to say that because of who I am.
Right.
Sorry, no, that's not how things work in a democracy, especially amongst members of Congress. You're supposed to debate ideas. If you say something, we should call it out. I mean, that is the point of this. That's why we're elected. So to say that you're not allowed to talk about something because of identities is nonsense. And it's also sort of bigoted in itself, because you're assuming that everybody of a certain skin color or gender should think a certain way. And that is really wrong. It's the content of your character that matters. It's the ideas that you have, and that's what we should actually be debating here.
Yeah, because if that congressman or woman said the exact same thing she said, and it was a straight white male, we would still be saying, "Do not say that. What are you talking about?" It has nothing to do with what she looks like. It's what comes out of her mouth. She's 3 months in, she's already caused a huge headache for Nancy Pelosi, so that's fun to watch. But besides that, I mean, I don't
Pelosi,
see...
by the way, also is a co-sponsor on that bill that AOC mentioned.
All right, Congressman.
It's nonsense, of course.
Congressman, I will leave it at that. Thank you for serving our country. You did a lot more than what AOC did, so let's remind everybody about that. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead, Mike Rowe in the house, and social media sensation Nick Koziar is here to show off some of his dance moves.
Plucked her eyebrows on the way, shaved her legs, and then he was a she says.
The Lexus ES. Every curve, every audition, every scene. A product of mastery.
This is the 2019 ES 350 for $389 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
As a financial advisor, I tell my clients not to worry about changing their minds in retirement. You may have always imagined your dream car as something fast. Then one day you decide it just needs to be safe enough to get her to college and back.
Principal, we can help you plan for that.
Straight from the world's best plant scientist comes Miracle-Gro Performance Organics. Organic plant food and soil that finally work. For twice the bounty, guaranteed. Miracle-Gro Performance Organics.
Nothing says spring like fresh flowers, so let's promote our spring travel deal on choicehotels.com like this. Earn one free night when you stay just twice this spring.
I like it.
Or, bada book, bada boom.
Book now at choicehotels.com. Every day, visionaries are creating the future. So every day, we put our latest technology and unrivaled network to work. The United States Postal Service makes more e-commerce deliveries to homes than anyone else in the country. Because the future only happens with people who really know how to deliver it.
Yes, I'm doing it all. The water, the exercise, the fiber. Month after month, and I still have belly pain and recurrent constipation. So I asked my doctor what else I could do, and I said yes to Linzess.
Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. Linzess is not a laxative. It works differently. It helps relieve belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
I'm still doing it all. The water, the exercise, the fiber. And I said yes to Linzess for help with belly pain and recurring constipation. Ask your doctor.
The candidates, the issues, and what matters to America. Harris talks to real people about what will win their vote. Watch Town Hall America with Harris Faulkner only on the Fox News channel.
The mirror is a window to a fitness experience the world has never seen before. No matter who you are or where you are, the mirror lets you work out with world-class trainers in live or on-demand classes. Measure your progress. Work out with friends. And when you're done, show off your achievements.
Amazing job today, guys.
No wait lists, no crowded parking lots. Just your home, the mirror, and you.
Roman, for the first time ever, you can get ED meds prescribed online shipped discreetly to your door. No more waiting rooms, opera talks, or lines at the pharmacy. Get started with your free online visit at GetRoman.com/TV.
Ready to have your mind blown? That's not what an explosion sounds like.
It's Last Man Standing's 150th episode.
I'm opening champagne. I'm adding orange juice and not a lush.
Last Man Standing, all new Friday on Fox.
Under Medicare for, we cover all basic health care needs, so they're not going to be there to do that. I suppose if you want to make yourself look a little bit more beautiful, you want to work on that nose, your ears, they can do that.
So basically, Blue Cross Blue Shield would be reduced to nose jobs.
Something like that.
Joining me now, former DNC chairwoman and Fox News contributor Donna Brazil. Donna, eliminate.
First of all, no, come on, let's be honest.
What?
I mean, you
Go
mean
ahead.
I'm gonna lose my private health insurance, and the only way I can go out and get private insurance is if I need a nose job or a facelift.
You don't need to do anything to your face because you're gorgeous.
Thank you.
But other
Well,
people might need to do that once in a while. But in all seriousness, Donna, this guy, I mean, you take Biden now, this guy is the front runner in the Democratic field, and he's running on taking away millions of people's private health care plans that they like.
Well, this is why we're going to have a very robust presidential primary season. It's because we have candidates like Bernie Sanders, who has put forward a very interesting proposal. Very interesting, because, look, every American, the majority of Americans get their insurance through their employer.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
And for those individuals who need subsidies and need help, whether it's through Medicaid or those who are like us. Well, look, the bottom line is Bernie Sanders is trying to address a very important issue, and that is, how do we reduce the cost of healthcare in our society?
All for that, but I just don't think socialized medicine is going to reduce the cost. Now, I just get a vibe from you, Donna, when you say the plan is interesting and there's going to be a robust debate. I get the feeling you're not a huge fan of Sanders and his socialist schemes with healthcare. Do I have that right?
I am a huge fan of Bernie Sanders, but I'm also a huge fan of Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, all the candidates.
Kamala said the same thing. She said get rid of it when she was talking about private health care.
Look, we're going to talk about single payer. We're going to talk about Medicare for all. There are at least 7 or 8 interesting proposals that I've heard from all of the candidates. And one of the big issues that Democrats ran on in 2018 was health care.
That's true.
And protecting those Americans with pre-existing conditions.
You're right.
So I think,
You're right. And they're making a lot of inroads on health care. I totally agree with that. Now, listen, AOC, I have to just show you this. She's talking about immigration, and here's what she tweeted. The far right loves to drum up fear and resistance to immigrants. But have you ever noticed that they never talk about what's causing people to flee their homes in the first place? Perhaps that's because they'd be forced to confront one major factor fueling global migration, climate change. So, AOC is saying that all the people hopping in the caravans from Honduras up to Texas is too hot in Honduras. That's why they're coming up here?
She was. I did a little research on this, and as you know, here on Fox News, we've mentioned AOC well over 3,000 times. I was really concerned that she would get the job and not me at Fox, but I'm glad to be here. So here's what she said.
Well, the mainstream media loves her more than we do. I mean, she's been on the cover of every magazine, and she's been on every TV show, so I think it goes around. Yeah.
Jesse, she's one of the most interesting freshmen, but she's not the only freshman. There are several of them that I think is hotter than July. But what she said is that the advocates who believe that we need to address climate change, the legal organization based out of Canada, believes that one of the big issues that is forcing people to leave their home is climate change. There are many other issues, as you know.
I don't think that's the main reason why you have all these illegal aliens coming up from Central America.
No, they're looking at it from a global perspective, not a regional perspective.
Okay, well, I was thinking about it regionally, but maybe I'm looking at it too narrowly. Let's get into this Barr comment that he made about spying. You know what he said? Spying occurred on Trump officials during the campaign.
He said he think it might have occurred.
No, he says he knows it occurred. No, he says he knows it occurred, and he just doesn't know whether or not it was predicated on actual, real intelligence, whether or not it was intelligence that led him to spy, or whether it was because of political bias. Now, you know, Donna, that the dossier paid for by Hillary, huge component in the surveillance of Trump officials. Why hasn't anybody asked Hillary about the dossier?
Well, first of all, Jesse, Hillary's campaign did not pay for the dossier. It is true that the law firm that represented
she contracted it out.
No, the law firm. You have never heard that. That is assumed. I was chair.
So this law firm just does this independently?
Well,
I think it's been admitted that Hillary paid money from the campaign to the law firm, and the law firm paid Fusion GPS to get the dossier. That's true, Donna. That's true.
No. I was chair of the party, Jesse. I signed off on many of those FEC reports. No, that's not true. The law firm, which was paid for by the Democratic National Committee, contracted this
so you were involved. Were you involved? Were you gone by that?
I was not.
You were gone by that, right? Okay. All right.
Yeah, well,
listen, bottom line is this Democrat paid for dossier was behind a lot of this spying. I know you guys don't like that word, but I think someone needs to ask Hillary And whoever was chairing the DNC at the time, they feel responsible for that.
You know what I really think? Jesse? I think it is time for everybody to stop focusing on what I call superficial and get back to what happened. In 2016,
now it's time. Now it's time to get back to reality, right?
I've
the
been
last
saying
2
this.
years it was all about Trump-Russia collusion, and now that the tables have turned, now you guys don't want to get back to the root of things?
No. Jesse, the table has not turned because we haven't seen the report. You're making assumptions based on 4 pages. I want to know. I want to see the report
I just don't think
before I can make
William Barr's a
assumptions.
liar. I think he honestly portrayed what was in the Mueller report.
And I don't think Bob Mueller is a liar. I do believe that this goes back to what happened in 2016. The country was under attack. The country was under attack by a hostile foreign country that sought to produce discard. If we can go back to that and try to figure out how to fix our system so that we don't have these problems in the future, I think we can both be on the same page. And by the way, I'm not calling anyone a liar. I'm saying we need to see all of the information.
All right, we'll see you on the 5 all together next week, Donna. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Bless you.
All right. Up next, Mike Rowe is here to discuss America's spoiled brats and what to do about it. Stick around.
Do you want a truck that joins the race? Or a truck that wins it? A truck that comes in first? That has the most? That is the absolute best. The all-new Ram 1500. Motor Trend 2019 Truck of the Year. Come in now during the Ram Spring Sales event.
Get an average $10,976 in total values on select all-new 2019 Ram 1500 models in dealer stock.
Hey, who are you? I ain't Chef. I'm a car thief. What? I'm here to steal your car because, well, that's my job. What? 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 It happens. And you got covered car insurance, paid for this, you feel like getting robbed twice. Look at all state. And you're better protected from mayhem. Like me.
Lobster Fest is on at Red Lobster with the most lobster dishes of the year, like Lobster Lover's Dream and new Ultimate Lobster Fest Surf and Turf. So come Lobster Fest today. And now, for a limited time, get 10% off Red Lobster to go.
What do you have there?
P3. It's meat, cheese, and nuts. I keep my protein interesting.
Oh, yeah, me too. I have cheese and these herbs.
P3 Snacks, the more interesting way to get your protein. Guys do whatever it takes to deal with shave irritation. So we reimagined the razor with the new Gillette Skin Guard. It has a unique guard between the blades that's designed to reduce irritation during the shave.
Really? Why?
Because we believe all men deserve a razor just for them. The best a man can get. Gillette.
George has heart failure and a busy day ahead. George has Entresto, a heart failure pill that helps keep people alive and out of the hospital. Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor about Entresto.
That was great. Why is Old Dominion #1 in customer satisfaction? Maybe it's OD's over 99% on-time rate, or our decades of supply chain experience that support the dynamic digital marketplace. Or because when we promise something, we keep our promise. The reason OD is #1 in customer satisfaction is our people who never stop working to make your shipping easier. Old Dominion, helping the world keep promises.
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone.
Before discovering Nexium 24-Hour to treat his frequent heartburn, Stephen could only imagine enjoying a spicy taco. Now his world explodes with flavor. Nexium 24-Hour stops acid before it starts for all-day, all-night protection. Can you imagine 24 hours without heartburn?
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Aisha Hasmi. Another Democrat kicks off his 2020 campaign for president. Senator Cory Booker held a rally earlier today in New Jersey where he served as mayor for 7 years. Booker told the crowd he would be the best candidate to help minority communities while creating a more just government for all Americans. The senator also said he would not make this election about President Trump while vowing to take the higher ground. Booker actually announced his candidacy back in February. The world's largest plane takes to the sky in California. The Stratolaunch took its test flight this morning and was in the air for about 2.5 hours before landing safely. It's a dual fuselage aircraft which weighs 500,000 pounds and has a wingspan wider than the length of a football field. The plane was designed to launch rockets into orbit. It was built by a company founded by the late co-founder of Microsoft, billionaire Paul Allen.
Actress Lori Loughlin, a.k.a. Aunt Becky, might be going from Full House to the Big House. Never heard that one before. For the college admissions cheating scandal. She paid a fixer about $500,000 to get her daughter into USC and photoshopped her daughter's face onto a member of a crew team for a fake athletic scholarship. This comes as studies show snowplow parents who basically do everything for their kids so their children never face any obstacles in life. That's on the rise. Joining me now, TV host and podcast host, the podcast is big, and author of the upcoming book, The Way I Heard It, now available for pre-order, Mike Rowe. Now,
the way you say it makes me sound interesting.
I'm doing the best I can, Mike.
Like the cards you have.
All right. So, did your parents do this for you? They never photoshopped, I'm sure, your face onto a crew team, but did they make life easier for you?
In a way, but it was a weird way. My parents had 3 sons, and they developed a really unique parenting style that was really founded on what you call lies, right? So they had us convinced that every other person we knew who was somewhat better off than we were, they taught us how to pity those people instead of envy them.
Right.
Right? And so, look,
that's the Christian doctrine, I think, right?
It's something like it, you know? So, like, when I wanted food ordered in because my friends had food delivered, my father would say, you know what, it's not nice to make fun of your friends because their moms can't cook.
Oh, very manipulative. I like it. It didn't work on you.
Like a dream.
You felt pity for the rich kids in the neighborhood.
I felt pity for all my schoolmates who wore the latest fashions because they didn't have the option of wearing in those sensible broken-in clothes from their older cousins.
Hand-me-downs are much, much better than stuff fresh out of Macy's.
Got that right, didn't look.
See, I think my parents, they didn't snowplow. They put obstacles in front of me. Yeah. They wanted to hurt me. They wanted to injure me. They sent me to sleepaway camps where, you know, they hand you a match and mosquito netting and say, I'll see you in 3 days, go survive. That's how they wanted to do. They called it building character.
You need to write a book.
I do.
Honestly.
I will.
No, my parents used every obstacle as a teachable moment. So if you want to talk about snow, we had a driveway about half a mile long, old dirt road, and when it snowed, we cleared that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. We had wood stoves.
Right, yeah, not with a snowplow. I mean, now they have snowplows, or they have a snowplow guy. They just had $20 to.
Well, I was the guy.
Yeah, you were the guy.
There was no $20.
With a shovel. No, right. There's no. You don't get like $20. That's part of your job. Chores.
My old man. It's right. It's exactly chores.
You don't factor that into the allowance, right?
So the break when we're shoveling snow, and to take a break, you know, my mom brings a thermos of coffee, which is great when you're 9.
Right.
And it's like wow. And
then one sip, and you get the whole driveway,
and you're wired. No, it's up to the wood pile, and you cut wood for a while. So you cut the wood, you plow the snow, and then you sleep like a baby.
Right.
It was great.
So now, also, you have these people, and I think this is rewiring people's brain. I call it the seamless app mentality.
Right.
You now, if you live in an apartment in New York City, you get everything you want on your phone. You want a date, you got Tinder, you want food, so you sit there, and everything is there on order, and it comes to your apartment in 30 minutes, and you never have to leave the apartment. You never have to go build anything or cook anything or do anything. What kind of effect do you think that's having on people?
Well, it's mathematical, right? I mean, Newton, maybe. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
I believe that was Newton.
Okay, so here you are with your phone. You're more connected than you've ever been in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're more in touch with more people more quickly than ever imagined. And yet you're more disconnected than you've ever been from the stuff that kind of matters, like where your food comes from and where your energy comes from and maybe your basic history, your own biography. So, you know,
the more connected you are, the less connected you are.
In a lot of ways.
You can't have a conversation at a bar with a woman. You don't know how to cook any chicken, or you don't know how to grill anything.
Yeah.
So you're helpless.
So it's the law of unintended consequences. So jet travel comes along. Suddenly the country is more accessible than it's ever been, but we lose the charm of distance. Right? Suddenly you've got long distance. You can reach anybody where anytime, but you lose the charm of, well, things become familiar, ergo annoying. Right? So every single thing.
You still write letters, don't you?
I do.
In longhand cursive.
In crayon. On the back of my lunch
Okay, good. Yeah, you want life to go back, I think, to the good old days, right?
No, I don't. Look, the good old days, they had diphtheria, whooping cough, and all kinds of communicable diseases. But there is this belief, I think, that a lot of people have that says technology can save us. Right? And maybe it will, but it's Newton again, right? The unintended consequence of virtually every good thing that I've ever seen always comes back to tap you on the shoulder. I don't care if it's minimum wage or rent control. You can make it political, you can make it practical, you can make it personal. It's always there.
Well, speaking of political, do you think Donald Trump's background in real estate development and construction, any of that, how do you think that's kind of formed his character and his work ethic at the White House? Because that's a background that none other president really had.
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about it. The last time I looked at presidents and what they did for money, I think the number one thing was lawyer.
Right.
And then early on, it was planter.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, you know, I think I look at everything as a trade, actually. I look at everybody as a tradesperson. Even you, this is your trade. You're good at what you do. You get better at it. You have skill. Some jobs translate easier, and the jobs that translate the easiest are the ones that offer you the most undeniable, immediate feedback. Nothing gives you more feedback faster than building.
Right. And he's built a hell of a lot of great companies and great golf courses and skyscrapers. I mean,
it was dirty jobs,
right?
Like in an even simpler sense. I mean, if you're a ditch digger, you show up, there's no ditch. You go home, there's a ditch. And so at the end of the day, you don't have to look around at your desk for visual cues that indicate the completion of your job.
The president was digging some ditches. He was putting McCabe in there. He was putting Comey in there. He was getting rid of everybody. I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm sorry. Mike Rowe, everybody. All right, coming up. Abby and Carly in the house to tell us about, ready? Consent condoms. Consent condoms. What do you hear how they work? Right back.
I'm working to keep the tower going for another 150 years.
To inspire confidence through style.
I'm working to make connections of a different kind.
I'm working for beauty that begins with nature.
We treat every car like I treat mine.
At ADP, we're designing a better way to work, so you can achieve what you're working for.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy Claritin and relief from symptoms caused by over 200 outdoor and indoor allergens, like those from pollen, pets, and dust. Because new memories start with dusting off old ones. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop. Does this sound dismal? It isn't. It's the most wonderful life on earth.
I can do more to lower my A1C.
Because my body can still make its own insulin.
And I take Trulicity once a week to activate my body to release it. like it's supposed to. Trulicity is not insulin. It starts acting in my body from the first dose and continues to work when I need it, 24/7. Trulicity is an injection to improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes when used with diet and exercise. Don't use it as the first medicine to treat diabetes, or if you have type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Don't take Trulicity if you or your family have medullary thyroid cancer, you're allergic to Trulicity, or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of a serious allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, or severe stomach pain. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Taking Trulicity with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases your low blood sugar risk. Common side effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and decreased appetite. These can lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
I choose once weekly Trulicity to activate my weight gain.
If you need help lowering your A1C, ask your doctor about once weekly Trulicity.
Nothing says spring like fresh flowers, so let's promote our spring travel deal on choicehotels.com like this. Earn one free night when you stay just twice this spring.
I like it.
Or, bada book, bada boom.
Book now at choicehotels.com.
They're America's biopharmaceutical researchers, driven each day to pursue life-changing cures. In a country built on fostering innovation. Here they find breakthroughs, like a way to fight cancer by arming a patient's own T-cells, and a new therapy that gives the blind a working gene so they can see again. Because it's not just about the next breakthrough, it's all the ones after that.
Jackie Robinson, one of the most accomplished athletes in American history.
Branch Rickey wanted to reverse racism.
The bond of those two individuals was what made the experiment work.
Oh. This is new. Some out-of-the-box thinking for an Argentinian company who created, ready, the consent condom. This is a condom which requires 4 hands to open. But some say the product simply protects men from rape accusations. So who is right and who is wrong? Back with me today, Fox Nation host Abby Hornacek and Fox News 24/7 headlines reporter Carly Shimkus. All right, so there's a condom. Guy can't open it himself, Carly. He needs to have another set of hands, a woman, I guess, or men, but 4 sets of hands to open it. What do you think?
Well, I'm not really sure who this is for. I guess it would be to prevent a false accusation.
Yes.
Because I would assume the main goal of a consent condom would be to prevent rape.
Right.
But if somebody was, God forbid, going to do that, either you wouldn't use this condom, or even worse, you would prevent.
But some people that have sexual relations, and then afterwards the women would say, I didn't agree to it.
Well, what about a woman who consents, opens the package, and then changes her mind?
Right.
That's my problem with it. I think it's great. It's a step in the right direction.
It is.
But would that discredit her accusation eventually if she said, okay, I opened it, but then I changed my mind?
Does this take the romance out of things if you need the 4 hands and everybody has to get it?
I would say, yeah, that's a lot of thinking.
It's a long process.
There was a lot of backlash over this.
Backlash.
I'm taking this from a Rolling Stone article. Quote, some people said it discounted the experience of amputees who would be unable to open the box. Others argued that it was discriminatory against polyamorous people.
Oh, those are the people that have basically an open relationship.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, you do that. I can Google that.
Yes, I did know that. What are you saying?
Okay, I'm just going to let that one hang out.
Okay, yeah, let it hang. All right, so this is Chrissy Teigen. She was invited to the Democratic retreat the other day. Was asked about women dropping the F-bomb. She had a little suggestion for Nancy dealing with President Trump. Go.